Hey, everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. It's going to be a fascinating one, I think, especially for you, because I know you're really interested in Parkinson's disease.
Mm.
And specifically, you mentioned wanting to understand like those non-pharmaceutical approaches.
Mm.
So that's what we're going to zero in on today. And we've got this really compelling first-person account that we're going to use as our kind of our guide for this journey. And believe me, it is packed with some surprising insights. I think you're going to find it pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I think what makes this story really unique is that, it's not just about the science of Parkinson's, but it's about how this one man, Steve Peterson, he navigated his own diagnosis. And, he started out very focused on those conventional treatments, but eventually discovered a whole world of natural approaches that ended up making a real difference for him.
Yeah, reading about Peterson's journey, I was really struck by, I never really realized how much control we actually have over our health. I mean, it really challenges this whole idea that, medication's like the only answer.
Absolutely. And to understand Peterson's approach, I think it's helpful to just quickly lay the groundwork. You see, Parkinson's develops when nerve cells in the substantia nigra, which is a part of the brain, start to die off. And these cells are responsible for producing dopamine. And as their numbers dwindle, so does your dopamine production. And that's what leads to those, tremors, stiffness balance problems that we often associate with Parkinson's.
So it's like the brain's movement control center.
Yeah.
Slowly losing its signal.
Exactly. But
Oh.
what's often overlooked is that Parkinson's isn't just about movement, you
Yeah.
know? It impacts mood, sleep, even your mental sharpness. It's really a whole body condition.
And that's where Peterson's story gets, I think, really interesting. So he's diagnosed, he's understandably overwhelmed, and like many of us probably, what he initially focused on, what doctors recommended, which primarily revolved around medication.
Right. And
Yeah.
and while medication is definitely important for managing those symptoms, Peterson realized it wasn't really addressing the root causes of the disease.
Yeah.
So that's when he started exploring natural methods. And this is where things get really exciting, I think, for our deep dive today. He discovered there are actually 8 key factors that contribute to Parkinson's. And he set out to kind of tackle each one. So we're talking inflammation, environmental toxins, low mood, and stress, just to name a few. And for those of you who are interested in natural methods to help manage Parkinson's, you can find more information on the Parkinson's Disease Protocol official website. Click the link in the description below.
Okay, so let's dive into some of those factors then. First up, inflammation. I have to admit, this one was a real eye-opener for me.
Yeah, chronic low-level inflammation, it's kind of like a slow-burning fire in your body. It's quietly contributing to cell death, and not just in the brain either. It's linked to a whole range of diseases, not just Parkinson's. And actually, the source material states that over 130 million Americans have conditions directly related to inflammation, and nearly 1 million die each year.
Wow, that really puts things into perspective. Yeah. And Peterson, he realized that putting out this fire, so to speak, was crucial. He was like, if I can tackle inflammation, maybe I can slow this whole thing down.
Exactly. Now let's move on to environmental toxins. This one might surprise you, but it's basically about the everyday chemicals that we're encountering in our environment that build up and they stress the body, particularly the brain. And what's really shocking is that toxins can actually double the risk of degenerative brain disease.
I know, right? I was blown away by that statistic. We're talking about stuff that's in our homes, our food, even the air we breathe. It's not about living in a bubble or anything, but it's about making informed choices to reduce that exposure. And that's what Peterson did. He didn't go off the grid, but he found simple ways to minimize his contact with these harmful substances. So, for example, he swapped out plastic food containers for glass, started using natural cleaning products, even got an air purifier for his home.
Yeah, and those small changes can make a big difference.
Hmm.
It's really empowering to know that we have some control over our exposure to those things. Now, the third factor we want to discuss is low mood and stress. And this one's particularly interesting because it creates this kind of vicious cycle.
Right, because Parkinson's itself can lead to, mental health struggles because of the reduced dopamine. And then those struggles can make it even harder to take care of yourself and make positive lifestyle changes. It's like a downward spiral.
Precisely. Peterson realized that addressing his mental well-being was just as important as any physical intervention. And that actually brings us to Jody Knapp. She's the natural health practitioner who completely changed Peterson's perspective. And what's fascinating about Jody's approach is that she treats illness by getting to the root cause, which is often a combination of those lifestyle factors we've been talking about. She actually helped Peterson identify food sensitivities that were contributing to inflammation in his gut and created a personalized exercise plan that incorporated both strength training and gentle yoga. This combination not only helped improve his mobility, but also boosted his mood.
So instead of just masking the symptoms, she's really helping people address those underlying issues, which I think is pretty brilliant. And she developed the Parkinson's protocol, right? The program that Peterson followed. And if you want to learn more about the Parkinson's disease protocol, you can find the official website link in the description below.
Yes, and the beauty of it is that it focuses on small, manageable habit changes. It's not about a complete life overhaul. It's about making those tiny tweaks that add up to big results.
That's really encouraging, especially for anyone who's feeling maybe overwhelmed by the prospect of making these big changes. So what happened to Steve Peterson after he implemented these changes? I'm dying to know.
Well, the source material describes a truly remarkable transformation. His symptoms improved significantly. He felt physically and mentally stronger, and his whole outlook on life shifted.
That's incredible. It really speaks to the power of a holistic approach, looking at the whole picture, not just individual symptoms.
Absolutely. And What's even more remarkable is that Peterson wasn't, some health guru before his diagnosis. He was just an average guy who decided to take control of his health.
And that's what makes his story so inspiring. It gives us permission to think outside the box and explore all our options. It shows us that we're not powerless in the face of Parkinson's. And speaking of options, if you're interested in learning more about the Parkinson's disease protocol, be sure to check out the link in the description below.